You ready to get going?
Yep, mate.
So I was thinking we have to start this off on this one because I rewatched back the last episode and there was a wee bet between Greg and Matthew in that. There's a wee fiver bet. Greg bet £5 on, I think, Spurs beating Chelsea, and Matthew bet a fiver, obviously the other way against Chelsea beating Spurs and ending 0-0. So I think you have to choose another game.
Mate, Chelsea leads.
I think you should. Well, which one do you want to pick?
Or West Ham Man United.
The fans want to see this.
Should have put a fiver on it being a shit game.
Should have, to be fair. We'll
Chelsea
talk about
Leeds
it
at 8 o'clock.
I think that's a decent game, but you guys can pick the game you want though.
Let me have a quick look.
Have a wee look. What do you think? Because while you're looking, we can chat about the game because it was pretty shite, wasn't it?
It was awful. I was going to say straight away we could go Tottenham Arsenal, but I'm definitely not backing Arsenal.
We can't chat about it, mate. I didn't even watch it.
Yeah, it's true.
Are we rolling here?
Yeah, we're rolling, mate. We're live. We're live. We're live to the world.
What's happening, Ken and Shane?
Wait. Are you editing it? Are you going to edit it?
No, mate. I'd started.
Oh, fucking hell. Sorry.
Well, fucking...
I've just admitted to everyone I didn't actually watch the game because I was busy.
Nah, mate. Yeah, we're live now, mate. There's no going back when you're live.
Absolute
right then, what's the chat?
Why didn't you watch the game? Who are you with?
Aye.
Huh?
I was walking Manny's dog.
She better be from tier 2, Matthew.
Yeah, as long as she's from tier 2, mate.
Matthew's done one.
Nah, the game was pretty shite, to be fair. I found myself doing what we said on week 1 was I was consistently on my phone and not watching the game at all. Which is poor, but I'm just being honest. It didn't grab my attention at all. It was a classic. Mourinho again, like just was tough to beat away from home. 0-0. I mean, probably had it written all over it, really, didn't it?
Yeah. I think as soon as it got to maybe the 70th minute, you could have just blown the whistle then because both teams would have just taken the 0-0 and walked off the pitch.
Yeah, I think Lampard knew what Mourinho was going to do. Obviously, he's played under him, and like you could tell they were both. No one really wanted to lose, but it's a good. It's not a bad result for either team. Did you see what Mourinho said after the game?
No.
Where he said that he's really happy because normally coming to Chelsea, and getting a draw is a good result, but he says the mentality of his team shifted because everyone in the dressing room was like mad that they only drew. They wanted to win, so he just said he's really happy that the mentality in his team shifted, which was interesting after what we said last week.
Yeah, that's fair.
Typical Mourinho, eh?
It's an important game not to lose.
Yeah, I mean, Spurs are still sitting top, right? So
did he go there? Did he shut up shop or not?
I wouldn't say shut up shop. I would just say that they were set up to be really difficult to beat.
I think he knew how good Chelsea were countering and how much quality they had. He knew he didn't want to concede.
Yeah, it's not a good game for Chelsea with the players that they have because Werner wants to play on the shoulder and get in behind. Abraham's not like, I'll get it and hold it up striker. They brought Giroud on, right? And then,
how was my boy Ziyech?
I mean, from what I saw, he was all right, but I just don't think it was a game that really suited him.
I mean, any game suits him. What a player.
I mean, he just needs to get in behind it. But have you decided what game you want to do a bet on?
Matthew, I'm happy to take West Ham if you take United.
Oh, I like that. West Ham, Man United, 5:30 Saturday. Fiver bet. What are you thinking, Matthew?
Is it West Ham at home?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's at West Ham.
Yeah.
I think West Ham win that game 2-1.
8 United, man.
Are you gonna have to chat about them later on?
I'll be fair, but
are you taking it or you're not, mate?
Or again,
thinking about it.
I'm also happy to go Chelsea Leeds, and I'll take Leeds.
Right, tell you what, Matthew, think about it.
Yeah. No. I've got it. He's going Leeds in the Chelsea Leeds. I'm going Chelsea. I think it'll suit them. They've just gone from playing a shut-up-shop Mourinho Tottenham team to an open Leeds team, and Timo Werner is going to run riot. You got yourself a deal.
In it, fiver bet. Everyone can see it. Matthew's gone for Chelsea. Greg's gone for Leeds. I like it. That should be a good game, to be fair.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
should be.
I'm looking
It will
forward
be.
to that game. Right, we'll get started on the first chatting point, the main talking point then, which is we're going to go to Scotty G because after the scenes on Sunday night at Celtic's
Welcome to the
fucking
party.
welcome to the
tonight.
party. Celtic look like they are imploding right now. Scotty, after a 2-0 defeat to Ross County in the Cup, which is an unacceptable result. And we'll dive into it a little bit more on detail, but what are you thinking about it, mate? Obviously, being
I've not stopped smiling since Sunday night, to be fair.
fair enough.
First of all, shout out to Ross Donaldson and Ross County.
Yeah, definitely.
We need to get Col on the podcast.
I was about to say, mate, Col, shout out to you. We're going to tag you in this. We'll get you on,
Col
mate.
Donaldson. Absolutely. Had a game plan and executed it to perfection and topped off with a late winner. So fair play to Ross County, fair play to Col. Yeah, I mean, it's not what happened after you, like, that can't happen. Like, it's an absolute, it's panic stations.
It definitely is.
Like,
Are they crumbling?
getting beat in the League Cup, right, is not the worst result. They can focus on the league, but it's the way they're getting beat and the performances they're putting in is so un-Celtic-like, and it's so unlike Neil Lennon. I think that's why the riots have come, because they can't see that team turn it around. It's not so much the result, it's the way that they're playing. It's the performances that are making fans panic.
It's mental, right? Because I obviously saw all the stats about Celtic on Sky Sports and all the other shows that do this type of thing. But correct me if I'm wrong, Scott. You might know, or Greg as well, or Matthew if you've seen it, all of you. But Celtic have won the last 11 consecutive domestic trophies.
Yeah.
And also, to put it into context, right? They're 2 games in hand, which would put them 5 points behind. And Scott, you said with 3 Old Firm games to go.
Yeah, with 3 Old Firm games to go. Yeah.
There is absolutely, I understand it because it's a bit more than football, that kind of rivalry, right? And so I get it. But if you really just take a step back and take the emotion out of it and kind of let the dust settle, they're very much in it against the Rangers side, which we were saying the other day, who have no experience doing this, these Rangers players, right? Rangers haven't won the league in 10 years for a lot of reasons. And you've got a manager who, he's doing all the right things and is getting Rangers to a great spot, but has never as a manager been in this situation. And never mind that, even as a player, he's never been able to get over the line and win a league title his club, right? So, I mean, it's an implosion, which is mental. I couldn't believe how bad it was.
I think what's more worrying for Celtic is the gulf in class and the standard and performances that they're playing. Rangers have cruised pretty much every single game. They look like they're going to win every game. And Celtic, that was the strongest 11, if not the strongest squad on Sunday, and they got beat 2-0 to Ross County at home. That's why they're panicking.
It's a bad result. What do you think, Greg and Matthew?
I was going to say I can understand the panic, to be fair. Before Sunday, I would have said, like, don't get rid of Neil Lennon because obviously, like, if you get in a new manager, they're going to take a wee bit of time to turn it around and you could end up even further off the pace. But, like, looking at that, Neil Lennon's not going to turn it around now. Like, it's...
You see what he did when they went 2-0 down? You see his reaction?
When they looked at the laptop?
He went straight to the laptop to have a look. I mean, Neil Lennon, years gone by, they conceded to go 2-0 down. He's on the touchline going mental, like hammering players. And he's lost that fire. He's lost, I think all the team has. As you were saying the other night, Joe, I think that culture's changed. They become the manager. Whatever he displays to them, behaviour-wise and culture-wise, they adopt to that. And I think he's lost his fire. He seems to have lost that. Shoot, he hasn't lost his passion. He's Celtic through and through. But he looks like he's lost that fire and that rage that that makes him a top player.
Yeah, I think that before you can say something, Matthew, I think that I said that the other night. I totally agree with that. I think that teams take on the characteristics of their manager, but mate, like, to be fair, there's so much riding on that for Celtic. Like, history to break the record. Neil Lennon, like, so it's probably a good thing having him be the manager because of who he is, and obviously, like you said, he's Celtic through and through. And I listened to the little bit of the Open Goal boys talk about earlier. And at the end of the day, do you really want to get rid of him and bring someone in who doesn't quite get the what's at stake as much as Neil Lennon does, and that might also be like negative against Lennon because he does know how much is at stake and it's emotional.
Too emotional.
But I don't know what you think about that, Matthew. Like, do you think that getting someone in, like, I don't even know who you get in. I don't know who wants to take that job.
I wouldn't go anywhere near
Who
it.
wants it?
This is what I think.
Welcome to the party.
Right? On to the party. What is that tune?
Liam Anderson shout out.
Liam Anderson.
I think that he's completely lost the dressing room. The players aren't playing for him now. I think there's a difference in like you not slightly getting results and like decisions just going against you. Like you get beat like 2-1. Like you know what I mean. Like loads of little things. But I think when it looks like you've lost the dressing room and the players aren't playing for you. I just don't think there's any. I don't think there's any going back from that.
What?
I don't know if you can flip and turn that around. So, I personally think you get someone in. I think he has to go. Only for that reason, not for the reason that there's still a lot of time to go. I think take that out of the equation. But if you look at it, and I think if it looks like the players aren't playing for him, he's lost a dressing room. I don't know a time in football history when someone's come back from that.
I would say that I'm actually gonna disagree with that because I don't think he's lost the players. I think that there's so much pressure on this right now that it's different. It's different than anything else in football because, like I said at the start, it comes down to more than football as well with that. But I don't think he's lost the squad. I just think Rangers have consistently been improving under Gerrard. B, Celtic have probably got comfortable, right? Because they've been so successful a little bit. That's naturally going to happen, especially for almost a decade. And C, I just think there's so much on it that there's so much pressure that I don't know if this was like a regular, let's just say Rangers and Celtic had won like a couple back and forth here and there right now. I don't think folk would be going this mental. I don't think people would be saying the same thing.
But surely he's lost the dressing room because of how much pressure there is and he hasn't dealt with it.
Right. Well, can I also say this, to be fair, is I'm not trying to call you out because I'll agree with this as well, but how many Celtic games have you watched?
A lot.
Have you?
Yeah.
Right. Fair enough. I haven't watched enough just only Celtic games, but personally, I just don't think that he's lost the dressing room. I just think there's a lot of pressure.
I think he's lost the dressing room because there's too much pressure.
Yeah.
Right, but so I'll then throw that back to you then and say, I would say that, like Scott said, Neil Lennon being passionate at Celtic through and through, that he gets what it means. I'm going to defend him at being an ex-coach. I'm going to defend him and say he's probably trying to do everything he can do so Celtic win 10 in a row. So I'm also then looking at a little bit at the players as well and be like, well, handle the pressure, right? You're playing at Celtic. It's a massive club. They need to handle the pressure too. And I know you can't get rid of all the players. It's always the manager that goes.
No, but you
can't question the player. Like Scott Brown is not a bottler. Ryan Christie not a bottler. It's not pressure. Well, is it pressure? But then Sunday night leaving their game and there's thousands of Celtic fans there to abuse them. That's a different kind of pressure that nobody's felt before ever.
Yeah,
like that's going to affect you surely.
Yeah, but like Josh, I get what you're saying, but that's football though. Like the players should absolutely be hammered, but that's not how football works. Whether it's at Celtic or whether you're playing whatever level that it is, it's the manager. It's always going to be. Not that that's like right or wrong, but it's always going to be the manager that has to take responsibility for it.
Right, but people are,
that's what you do.
People are talking about like the main name I've heard branded about is Eddie Howe from Bournemouth, right? So obviously managed Bournemouth, did a decent job. I cannot see, and this is no disrespect to Eddie Howe, but just because of the Celtic Rangers thing, I just don't see Eddie Howe being able to come in and handle that pressure any better than Neil Lennon could.
But
no, absolutely agree with you.
But my point is that Celtic needs now, especially at this time, it needs new life. It needs a new light. Yeah. It needs new ideas.
regardless,
I think that's exactly what it needs.
regardless if it's Lennon's fault they've lost it, they need a fresh face. They need something to inject a bit of life, get those players playing. Because that squad on Sunday is capable of winning that league.
Bringing a new manager as well brings the standards up as well, and it's now like, right, you're all playing for your spot.
Right.
Here we go.
So I'll ask all of yous, right? I'll go around all of yous. I'll start with Greg and then I'll finish with Scotty. Greg, do you think that with being 5 point again, they have to win their 2 games in hand, obviously, and the form they're in right now, there's no guaranteeing that. But if they win the 2 games in hand, they're 5 points behind with 3 old firm games to go. In this situation right now, in your opinion, should Lennon get the sack, or do you think they should stick with him a little bit?
I think he now needs to go.
Matthew?
I think he needs to go.
Okay.
Sorry, I'll leave it at that. Scotty, go ahead.
Scotty?
Based purely on what I've seen on the last couple of games and his reaction, he needs to go. He's not himself. Now, I think he is the right man for the job when he's fully firing and when he's happy and when he's not the same guy anymore. He just looks like he's lost that aggression. He's lost that aura, and I think getting heavily beaten in the Old Firm games has done that to him as well. Getting outplayed and outclassed by the Old Firm games has put him right under pressure.
If you look at, as you say, the pressure of going for 10 as well, that pressure must be unbelievable because like when Rangers were going for 10, was it not like Gascoigne and Laudrup in that way?
Gascoigne, Laudrup.
And they're like world class.
Yeah.
By the way,
if they didn't manage, then
the year that Rangers won 9, they were beaten 2-0 in the Scottish Cup quarter-finals off Celtic, and they're in the Champions League. Took 3 points out of 6 games in the Champions League group stages.
Yeah,
so still went on to win 10. It was a win 9. So
it's I just think I'm trying to back. By the way, we like personally, obviously, I've been a coach, so I'm just trying to put myself in Neil Lennon's position. That I get it, I do get it. I'm not saying that I necessarily disagree with you guys, but at the same time, I think that when you really look at the hard facts, they're not miles away. I get performances aren't looking good in that, but I personally think, again, it depends on who you get in, right? But I personally think if they sack Lennon, they're done. I think if they sack Lennon, they're done, and it could go the other way. It could go the other way, but I think if they sack Lennon, they're done.
If they do it, they've got to do it now. There's still time to bring it back, but the longer it goes on with him, the harder it is for someone to come in. But I think Lennon is the right man for that Celtic job.
Yeah, I think so.
He's been there and he's done it himself.
We spoke about this on the first kind of episode.
Is Eddie Howe going to care as much as Neil Lennon? Absolutely not.
Yeah, he just doesn't have that tie to it, which again can be like detrimental to Lennon at the same time. It could be good in both, but like we said on the first podcast, especially this day and age, in which I think fueled a lot of what happened outside the stadium the other night, is social media. Everything just like is accelerated, right, compared to normal times. I mean, again, I heard like I think it was Andy Halliday said an open goal, might have been him or Kevin Cowell, about you just wouldn't see that at Rangers, but he said, but these days with social media, you never know, right? It just seems to like create that mob mentality. But I think at the end of the day, before we move on, it's a marathon, not a sprint. It's so early on to be panicking that bad. I get there's a lot behind it, but sometimes be careful what you wish for, right? Like if you bin him, it could be just as bad. No one knows. It's impossible to tell. But
personally, I think Neil Lennon's a great manager.
Scotty wants him in, or as your uncle kept saying, we've got to keep Lennon in.
Can he sack Neil Lennon?
All the Rangers fans want Neil Lennon to stay in, so I totally get it. Right, we'll move on from that. Matthew, last week you said that you just don't get Ollie, I think was your words. I'm not trying to say that after one game things have drastically changed, but I did watch the whole Southampton Man United game, and the Cavani sub I thought was bang on what they needed to do in the game to try and get themselves back into it. Sometimes you make subs and they don't pay off, and sometimes they do. When they do, the manager does get a lot of the credit, but he subs Cavani on and he's changed the game, and he's come on and scored 2 goals that has ended up winning them a game. And for United, that's huge because they've struggled to do that as of late when they're losing, to come back and win. They might come back and draw, but they haven't come back to win. So I don't know. What do you think about Ole after what you said last week with that wee decision?
I mean, it's literally one game.
Totally.
And this is what the issue is with United is like they win one game and it's like the next best
We're back.
thing. Like I can't recall how many times, even there must be one or two this season, but do you mind when was it after how like you had those 9 games where you finished you had those 9 games where you finished the season after COVID.
Yeah.
Like they were flying in that period as well, right? Which is fair enough. But like to be a top side, you have to do it consistently. Now if in 2-3 months we have this convo again and United are doing it, then I'll happily hold my hands up and be like, I was wrong. But that one performance has not convinced me whatsoever because it's typical United. They'll play good 1-2 games and then they'll go away to West Brom and get beat. And it's like, that's why I don't think he's good enough. Because mate, to like get in top 4, be consistent, win a league title, you have to be so consistent. Consistency is the key, and I just don't see them doing it.
I kind of wanted to point more towards on Greg, like from my point of view, after what we talked about last week with managers and decisions they make on recruitment and coaching and that, my point about this is that, again, it's one game, I agree with Matthew, but he's made a correct decision that has won them the game in terms of his substitutes, exactly what the game needed. And sometimes just that we win, that we sub, and for Ollie personally, that's won them the game. Sometimes that can give the team a boost and kind of start to, take you to being consistent, like Matthew said.
Sorry, Greg. Yeah, it might do, but like, there's so many times you could have said that about United in the past 3 years.
But I just think that if you're gonna, he gets criticised a lot, probably mainly so by me and you and Greg. But he gets criticised a lot. However, I think you've all given him credit where the credit's due. He made the correct sub and it won them the game.
Yeah, but my argument would be, this might be rash. He's been there for so long. Well, not so long, but he's been there for like 18 months. And fair enough, they have little spells of being good, spells of being shite. You could stick me in the dugout and I'm going to guess it right at some point.
Yeah. No, 100%.
Mason Greenwood was awful on Sunday. It was a no-brainer.
I mean, I think with the whole sub thing is like, I really don't want to sound like totally against United here, but I'm just being honest in what I see in terms of football. Like sometimes when you make subs, like that happens.
100%, yeah.
Like that definitely happens. Now, Ollie 100% deserves a little bit of credit for putting him on, but like sometimes that just happens. And I must say, his movement for both his goals were class.
I think he called it stiff last week, Matthew.
Yeah, mate. I said he looked like mate. You know what he's gonna struggle with, mate. He's gonna be banned for a few games now, and he's back down to being a stiff old man.
Who, Cavani?
Yeah.
I think for everyone else,
his Instagram
movement was class. His movement was so good for the 2 goals.
For everyone else that doesn't know, that isn't involved in our fantasy league, Matthew also took Lookman out, and he then bagged against Fulham. So
see, I don't know why I do this. Right, I look at Lookman, right, and I watch the Fulham games, and I'm like, I like him, I rate him, he's a player, and I'm like, right, he's gonna be one of Fulham's best players, right? So I put him in my team. He plays bad for 1 week, and I see they're playing Leicester at home, and I'm like, nah, I'm chucking him. And then he goes and scores and plays class. I'm like, mate,
honestly,
my head.
You know what that says, Matthew? You've got no loyalty.
Oh, mate.
Mate, I know.
That's why you're single.
How hard is it to stick to it, though?
It's difficult. Honestly, Greg and Scott Carragher did a full analysis on him before the game kicked off, and I was like, mate, he's going to score. He's going to score. It was hilarious. But all right. I mean, I don't disagree, Scotty. I mean, are you along the same lines as Greg and Matthew in terms of? I agree with what you said. Like, Greenwood was poor and it was the right sub to make, but
yeah, mate, you're like we said in the podcast a few weeks ago. You're way too emotionally tied to the social media aspect of Man United. They're still in a god awful football team.
They are. I mean, they are. I'm just saying though that he definitely the sub. I know as being a coach that he made the sub. It worked. And even as obvious as it may seem to everyone, it might have been the obvious thing to do. Sometimes that kicks you on. But I wanted to talk about Bruno as well, because as much as I hate to say it, every time I watch him, every single week, he's fucking class. Like, he's really, really fucking good. He's really fucking good.
I didn't have the game on Sunday, and I noticed they were 2-0 down. I was checking the scores, and as soon as you see it goes 2-1, you know who's got the goal. Like, it's got to that stage with United. He's like, I think we spoke about it previously, but everything goes through him. He's their best player by a mile.
Mm-hmm.
I've honestly no idea where they would be if that's going back to Ollie, and I don't know how much say he gets in those decisions, or if he was specifically eyeing him up to sign him, but that is by a country mile the best thing that he's done at United.
Agreed. Do you not think that Bruno's kind of, since he's come in, he's almost been like what everyone thought and wanted Pogba to be? Like, he stepped up and like been the main man and been this player that's, you know, creating everything for United and being the main person. And Paul Pogba's had some great moments for Man United as well, but consistently he's not been that. Bruno, in his short time there, has been better than Paul Pogba has in his whole time at Man United.
Pogba's been given plenty chances as well to be able to do that. And what's impressive most about Bruno is like he is really, really taking that opportunity and chance.
He's basically keeping Pogba out of the team.
Yeah.
Hands down, yeah.
How long do you think he'll stay?
Bruno.
Bruno. If they Man United's finished 6th this season, 5th or 6th, don't finish top 4.
I think he's got, if they say they did that bad, Scotty, personally, I think he'd stay for at least another season after that. And then if they still do roughly the same, and he's been as good as he has been, I think he goes.
He does look happy at United, though.
Where do you think he goes? One of the big...
He's playing well. If you're playing well, you're always happy.
Yeah. Do you think he's good enough to make that team better? Like,
to build the team around him?
To build a team around him. He's got some good tools around him. Like Rashford, Greenwood. There's some good players to feed into.
I think he is good enough. I think he might be good enough to build a team around.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be building a fucking team around him in a heartbeat. I just looked. He's 26, turned 26 in September. So,
young man.
Like, he's still young. He's still got at least fucking 4 or 5 years out of him.
Here's like a kind of flip side to it, and give me your thoughts on this. To try and be as open-minded with this as possible, right? See how he's come in, right? And he's come at a time where a massive club is really struggling. Do you think it's easier to stand out or actually harder?
No, it's easier to stand out.
You think it's easier?
Yeah, but I wouldn't put Bruno Fernandes in the category that he's only standing out because Man United aren't necessarily a great team. I think he's...
So you think if Bruno, went to a team that was doing really well right now, really strong squad, he would still like kind of produce and be at that top high level?
I would take Bruno Fernandes at Liverpool in a heartbeat, threading balls through to Mane and Salah. 100%. I mean, I don't think that. I think he's very, very good. Very
off topic. Do you think he gets in a Klopp midfield?
Yeah, I think he's got a bit. I mean, I don't know what you think, Greg and Scotty, but I think he's got a bit of a nastiness to him. I think he would get stuck in. Yeah.
Don't know. It's tough. I generally don't know if he would. I think he's class, and yeah, he would. I would definitely obviously take him at Liverpool. I don't want to obviously say that I wouldn't. But then I don't know if he maybe has that work rate that Klopp would want from him. Not to say that he, as I say, isn't class, and obviously does very, very well in his role at United. But if you're asking me the question, would he like fit into Liverpool's like team and structure right now? I'm not sure, but yeah, I'm not sure. But I obviously do think he is class. And by the way, just to go, I'd say the one thing, as you say about United, your point about is it easier to stand out in a poor side? I'd say, to be fair to Bruno, he's playing in not the greatest side, the United side ever, obviously, but he's actually standing out in the full league. He's literally one of the best players in the league. So he's like, it's not like he's only standing out in that United team, but there's numerous people better than him in the league. Like, he's one of the best players in the league. So he's obviously
100%.
Just to back up your point there, Greg, I took a picture of this came up on Sky. Since Bruno Fernandes' debut, he has 25 goals and assists combined together, which is the best in the league. Harry Kane is then on 23, Mohamed Salah on 20, and Son on 19. So, I mean, at the end of the day, there's no denying how much of an impact he's been. He's absolutely class, and you know, Man United will be wanting to improve and get into continuously make Champions League football because they'll need to keep him, and they definitely should be building a team around him 100%. So next thing I wanted to speak about was the Brighton penalty of the weekend in the Liverpool game. It's an interesting one. Greg, I wanted to come to you first. My question would be, this is to all of you, to be fair, because I've thought about this. I'll go to Greg first, but for everyone, what was your initial thought on it when you first saw it? And then what's your thought on it now, maybe that the dust has settled and a few more people have been talking about it? Has it changed or has it stayed the same?
Still the same. I know Matthew made the point in the first week. I'm so fed up with VAR. And this whole, like, slowing it down to like a millisecond of a second. Of course, Robbo's kicked his foot, but the ball's like, he's basically just missed the ball, and because he's got no right peg, and he's kicked Welbeck's foot, as Welbeck has also missed the ball, and then the ref doesn't. It's obviously not a clear and obvious decision because the ref doesn't even notice it. No one claims for it. Then VAR look at it, slow it down to like extreme slow motion, and then call the ref. And the ref going to the monitor is just doing my head in as well, because they're obviously told you've made a mistake, you need to change your mind, because every single time they just go to the monitor and change their mind. Like, how is that one a penalty, but the one that the Bruno tackle in the West Brom game a couple of weeks ago where he's kicked his shin isn't a penalty? There's no consistency now with it at all. The refs need to seriously look at like what is like a penalty and what is not, come to an agreement and just make every decision consistent. If there was consistency and if all of those were given as penalties, you would go, yeah, that's fine. Like Liverpool got a really cheap one against West Ham a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, 100%.
Which was similar. So like it swings and roundabouts, but some you get, but some you don't. But it needs to be way more consistent. And to be honest as well, it's actually becoming difficult to watch English football at the moment because it's so start-stoppy. It takes forever. After every game, all they talk about is VAR decisions. You don't even, last night on Monday Night Football, they're spending so long talking about the Ollie Watkins offside that they don't analyse any other part of the game. If that's what if you're tuning in and interested in the actual analysis of the game. It doesn't even happen now because Neville and Carragher are arguing over VAR for 20 minutes.
Yeah, it's become the main talking point for sure. Matthew, what about you? Same question. Initial thoughts on it being a penalty or not, and then now that a few days have gone by and the dust has settled.
So this is what I don't understand, right? Has VAR changed the rule has it changed the rule that something is a foul or not?
No.
So this is what I don't understand. Neville and Carragher talking on Monday Night Football. They both look at it and they both say it's a foul, it's a penalty. I disagree. I do not think that is a foul or a penalty. Like, why is no one talking about Danny Welbeck after as well, by the way? Have you seen his reaction?
Yeah.
He gets clipped on the bottom of the foot, like lands, like turns around and looks, and goes down. My issue is, VAR is creating that right there. I think Danny Welbeck doesn't even fall over and just gets on with it if there's not VAR. So I feel like VAR is changing the rule without there actually being a rule to it in the first place of it being a foul or not. And I look at it and I'm like, I don't understand how it's a penalty. And I'm not being Liverpool biased here. Like, fast, even when you watch it full page, you're like, right, not a penalty. Even when I watch it like slower, 100%, it makes it look worse.
Yeah.
But you have to surely take it in the context. And I just do not understand how that is a foul.
What do you think, Scotty?
The boys have covered it, but it's the speed they show you at. Like, Yes, yes, there's contact, but it's so minimal, and they're both going for the ball. It's a 50-50. It's a coming together, and there's barely any contact. And you put it in slow motion, and it's a penalty. But so Robertson can't go for that ball then, and if he misses it, it's a penalty. That can't be the case.
Sorry, Scott. I think VAR is changing the rules without actually officially changing them. If you know what I mean.
Well, I think players are looking for penalties because they know.
Yeah, but they're also looking at that on VAR and on a screen, analysing it, and saying that's a foul.
So, Matthew, Greg mentioned the Salah one against West Ham the other week. I mean, that's softer than the Robertson one. So, are you saying that the Salah one's a pen or not a pen?
But that happens because of VAR. That
Agreed.
situation right there happens because of VAR.
Yeah,
Any
agreed.
player now, if you're an attacker or you're in the box or whatever, if there's any form of contact, which is ridiculous because there needs to be contact in the box, you just can't foul someone, then I don't think the Salah one is a penalty either.
Fair.
My issue with the Liverpool one is there's also so much debate whether it was a pen or it wasn't. That shows it's not clear and obvious. The referee's not giving it as a penalty. So then why is VAR get involved? That's not what VAR was brought in for.
That's two different conversations for me.
Yeah, because I think, I agree, Matthew, because clear and obvious for me is someone just getting absolutely halved.
Yeah,
that's clear and obvious. And then after that, like Carragher said on Monday Night Football so well, where do you draw the line? What's clear and not? Because it's an opinion. Because then Liverpool fans are going to be like, well, that's not clear and obvious. But Brighton fans are going to say it, right? So, but I just wanted to touch on what you guys said about the, the slow-mo and all that stuff. I was watching Match of the Day, and I wrote this down. The commentator on Match of the Day said this, right? When the ref gave the pen after he went over to the VAR, I thought this summed it up. The commentator said, I've quoted it word for word here, so I don't get this wrong. After having picked that apart in pieces, the ref is given a penalty. After having picked it apart in pieces. Like, it's football. Do we need to go and pick apart a foul in pieces? Like, you could... so many tackles in the middle of the park, you could go to the VAR screen and look at for half an hour and pick it apart in pieces and decide. 100%. I just thought that was when he said that, I thought, I was like, picked it apart in pieces. Like, and I'm not just saying this about Liverpool this weekend. I mean this in general for all, things that are given in this context. Even the Salah one. I mean, you can't be picking a foul apart in pieces. I mean, it's just...
That's a dangerous.
And that ruins what
road to go down.
It's quick, it's action-packed, it's emotional. That's what it should be. And that's what VR's taken out of football.
Taking the excitement out of it as well.
Sorry. How bored was that watching Ollie Watkins last night? You're waiting, 3 minutes to see if it's a penalty or not?
Yeah. Boys, I'm sorry, right? If I'm playing, let's just even say it's like a championship club, right? It's a big deal. And if I'm not going to say dive, I don't think dive's the right kind of like thing, but if I go down easy knowing that there's contact coming, I am more than happy to win a penalty from a club doing that. And that could potentially mean down the road, my club that I play for wins the whatever, or it could mean that we stay up and I save, hundreds of jobs. Like, I'm going to do it. And now there's VR, and like, I reckon if you were to speak to the majority of the Premier League players, and now that's even a higher level, even more is at stake. I reckon 90% of them would say, "I'll go down easy for a penalty. I'll go down easy for a penalty."
Yeah, anyone.
Now you're almost cheating the game.
Ollie Watkins should have gone down last night. If he went down in the last minute if he'd gone down, that was a penalty because there was contact. But
there's a mentality in like England, and probably Scotland, to be fair, but certainly in England, where it's like diving has become this new thing. And Neville said it on the Monday Night Football analysis. They were told when he played at Man United, if you get any contact in the box, go down. And that, of course, every single manager is going to say that. Fuck this like honesty shit, because anytime you're honest, you don't get a pen. When you stay on your feet, you don't get a penalty.
If you haven't played football, you don't understand that. But
yeah,
like if you have played football any form, any level, football people understand that. They totally get it. It makes total sense.
So, just to go back, I kind of want to answer my own question because personally, when I first saw it, and I think I even tweeted probably after a few beers, that I thought it was never a pen. I was like, how in the fucking hell is that a pen? And then honestly, as the dust has settled and I've listened to a few different people say their own opinions, and I'll use this to kind of move on to the next thing I want to say. I thought Carragher put it really well on Monday Night Football. He said, I now think it's a penalty because with VAR is there, like as a player that VAR is there, and it's going to take time to get adjusted to. And Carragher and Neville both agreed on this, being high-level defenders. Andy Robertson will look back on that and gone, actually, you know what? Like I've also been a bit rash going in there as well.
But I didn't agree with him though. I
agree. I agree with that. I think that
you had every right to go for that.
But you know now that as soon as you touch someone in the box, it's probably going to be a penalty.
So this is my point.
Hold on, Matthew. Let me finish. What that means you need to do now is you have to adjust how you defend. And whether that's right or wrong, I think it's wrong, by the way. But VAR is there. So if you don't adjust how you're going to defend, you're going to keep giving away penalties.
So my issue with that is what I was saying before. It is changed the rule of what a foul is.
It's changed defending.
Because you dissect it so much. Why can't we have VAR but recognize something that's a foul and not a foul? Why does VAR now all of a sudden mean that a slight touch in the box is a foul?
And coach, you say it's changed defending now. So what's Robertson meant to do in that situation? Just not even attempt to play the ball?
Nah, I mean, look, that's a fair question. I just think that the point I agreed on it with Carragher was, like, ultimately any touch now in the box is because what we said, it's slowed down. It doesn't matter how hard you've kicked him, how soft you kicked him. Any touch in the box now is a pen. And I'm not agreeing with it, by the way, just to be clear. I'm not agreeing with it at all. But my own, let me just be clear. My own opinion is, personally, from watching football and playing football and coaching football all my life, that's not a penalty. However, with VAR now part of the game, I just don't see it ever going away. Unfortunately, the reality is it's a penalty with VAR.
If that happened in the middle of the park, is that a free kick?
I mean, I don't think so. I don't even think it's a penalty, but
I don't think you can look at it like that, because situations in the box compared to middle of the park are totally different. But this is what I'm trying to say. Like, all of it. This is what I'm trying to get my head around. Why has the rule of a foul now changed that VAR has come in? Is my question to you guys.
Yeah, it shouldn't have. The game's
going.
But why has it?
What, you think it's making it so much softer as an attacker?
Yeah, so it's literally changed in my head what the foul is. Because let's take Robertson for example. In my head, that's not a foul. But now all of a sudden VAR is involved. That is a foul. Why can't we have VAR but recognise what a foul is and what a foul isn't? Because that's what ultimately comes down to.
Then where did you draw the line? There can't be, this is a foul, this isn't a foul.
Well, there never will be. There never has been.
There never will be, there never will. Yeah, it's such a hard thing to get right.
Yeah, so my point is, why has VAR now made a foul less of, or softer, or whatever you want to call it?
Yeah, no.
I agree with you there. 100%.
Mate, I agree.
I think that's what, to fix VAR, I think that's what they need to look at. I think they need to look at it and whatever with the whole cameras and whatever. But to me, the issue that we're missing is looking at it and is it a foul or is it not? And all of a sudden, since VARs came in, it's like, that's a foul. And you're like, that's the softest foul ever. It's not a foul. Here's,
by the way, I agree 100% with everything you've said. I'm just coming at it from a point of view where I've been in similar situations. So I remember coaching a tournament in Cali, and unbelievably, I think we're playing like my team made like a semi-final or something. And anyway, classic in America, the ref comes up and goes, by the way, coaches, there's no sliding. You can't slide. I think the kids were 11, maybe 12. So he said you can't slide. So that's like we're talking about VAR, it's bullshit, right? I mean, it's bullshit. It's part of the game. However, one of my kids gave away a free kick towards the end of the game because he slid, won the ball, But because he slid, the ref told us at the start, if you slide, it's a free kick. Load of bullshit. The other team scores, and I think they won the game 1-0 or 2-1. They won it by a goal, whatever it was, right? So I'm obviously raging because that's ridiculous. But this is, I'm just trying to play devil's advocate here. VAR is there. I told the kids at the start, and again, this is where it becomes a debate, difficult to understand, because the players need to focus on playing the game and they can't be thinking about the technology in their head, right? But the kid knew that he couldn't slide. He still slid. I'm not saying the kid was wrong, right? But ultimately that was the rule. And that's what I'm trying to say about VAR. Like, I agree that it's not, a lot of these things aren't penalties at all. Some of them are right, but a lot of them aren't. But I don't know, it's there. I don't know what else to say.
So I agree with that, but then you get into a topic of, do you think it's right for the game and how it slightly changes the game compared to if it wasn't, and then how the game is played and looked at then? Because in my eyes, it's going to evolve football over a long period of time now. It will soon be, by the way, like in the box, you literally like can't have contact with someone. Like, this is just like stage one of the evolution of VAR, and I don't think it's leaving. It's not going anywhere either.
No way. It's not going to go
not.
anywhere. Well, look, we could spend all night just literally on that topic, and we have talked about it before. So we'll just move on slightly a little bit to Klopp's kind of interview with the BT reporter, which I thought was interesting. Matthew, what did you think? What did you think of that when you saw it? I know you watched it live. I was working, unfortunately, but yeah.
I think Klopp is way more clever than we think.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's obviously an emotional guy. But, okay, wait, sorry. Let me just go back to the whole thing that he's arguing about. So he's arguing about the fixture list, right? And he's arguing about the 5-sub rule and them playing on a Wednesday night and then a 12, half 12 kickoff on a Saturday.
Yep.
I think if you want to be at the top and you want to be the best, you want to beat the best, you want to do all those things, I think naturally, let's just even take it away from football, in life, you just have to take that responsibility. Like, that's part of it. Like, that's just kind of how the world works. So I think if you then put it in football terms, Liverpool, over the past few years, arguably, biggest club in the world right now, the things that they're doing. I just think Klopp has to accept that and deal with it. I think that that's what comes with if you want to be at the top. You just got to deal with that. And I think his reaction to that interview was also on the back of frustration to what just happened in the game 5 minutes before, which was an awful penalty, and we dropped 2 points.
Yeah.
Definitely got caught in the moment, emotion. However, I would say, as a Liverpool fan, I don't mind him doing that, because in my eyes, he looks like he's standing up for the club, which you want him to do. And in my eyes as well, I actually think, by the way, one of the reasons as well, which maybe it's in the back of his head, is I think it gets the players. He's kind of backing the players as well, because we have no idea what's going on there. But I think the players are definitely saying, maybe little things like, they don't like it either. So maybe he's backing the players as well, and he spoke to his players, and he's, what, I'm going to stand up for you then, and I'm going to, do this interview type thing. I'm really not too sure. I don't know if it was emotion on the back of what just happened, but I do have a slight kind of feeling that he's actually played it quite well, and he's a really clever guy. He is.
What do you think about it, Greg?
Similar, to be fair. I think he's obviously been, let's be honest, as much as obviously we like him, he is a bit of a moaner, and he always has been, really, even since he first came to Liverpool. And if he doesn't like something, he's obviously gonna, as Matthew says, stick up for the players and like make everyone aware of that. I think he likes to emphasise points by moaning in like TV interviews like that, and I think that's why it was quite interesting when the journalists, whatever you want to call them, started going back at Klopp. But I think Mourinho made a good point through the week about Klopp moaning about this, is because that's just the way English football works. Like everyone knows the Premier League is just so money orientated now, and the money comes from the TV rights. And I think Mourinho's point was like he started moaning about this back in like 2004, 2005, and it's never changed. So he gave up, and it doesn't matter how much Klopp moans about it. It's not going to change.
Sorry, being add on to that. That's just what I was saying in the first point. I think to play in the richest and biggest, best, I mean, whatever league in the world, whatever you want to call it, I think, I just think that's part and parcel that comes with it. And if you want to be at the top of the Premier League, then that's what comes with it. You know what I mean? That responsibility and the whole money thing behind it. Everything's always money driven, and the fact that we're doing a 12:30 kickoff, so the Asian market we're exposed to the Asian market, and the Premier League makes money off it. Whatever, it's not a surprise to me, but I just think he has to just accept that.
So Scotty, to kind of just continue off what the boys have said there, one man that used to do this all the time, Greg met two people, Mourinho was one. The other man that used to do it all the time was Fergie. He used to always moan about it. So, I mean, what do you think about it? I think it's a lot. I think it's emotion. I think it's genuine frustration because he does at the end of the day want what's best for Liverpool. Let's be honest. He wants the most amount of time to recover. He wants his players to be as fit as they can, all that stuff. But I thought it was quite funny because I used to do it too. I remember back when Fergie Mourinho did it, I used to do it too. He used to have a go at them, but he got a lot of heat from it from other fans, and United fans especially. And I'm like, you're a manager, you used to do that all the time. But Rangers have the same in Europe. They play Thursday, Sunday, right?
Yeah, I mean, personally, I agree with Klopp. I love the emotion of it. I thought, how cool is it to get to see that? So he genuinely has passion for it, genuinely cares. And I think what Matthew said, he's probably emotionally tied to the result and losing James Milner as well.
Yeah.
I think his job's getting harder and harder with these injuries, and that's why he's so upset. But then, as you say, the reason he's on millions of pounds a year, and the reason Liverpool are so successful, have so much money, is because people want to see them play, and people want to watch them and want to pay for them. So, I mean, is it playing a couple of football games a week? Is it that hard?
Yeah, no. I know.
You're getting paid millions of pounds a year, but
no. I mean, I think we all summed that up pretty fair there, to be honest. I mean,
also this year there's been a much shorter pre-season, and there is so many more injuries. He's not moaning for nothing.
Yeah.
And then when he's playing Champions League as well, but
I think if he didn't have the injuries, would if he didn't have the injuries, do you think that interview would have happened?
No.
Personally, don't think so. No, that's why he's so.
No.
And then I think he's so emotional about losing Milner as well. He is thinking his defense is gone.
I think this is where we go back to like the Celtic thing as well. I think this is where you have to take football in a week by week, game by game context. And I know managers say all the time, "Oh, we're just thinking about the next game." And I've been in that position, and I'd say that's like 80-90% true. And 10% of them have obviously got chat to the sports scientists and have their eye on other games and all that. But you have to take football on a week by week basis. And like you say, I just think he's emotional in that moment. If he hadn't had all the injuries, then I don't think he goes as mental as that. He probably doesn't even go mental. He's maybe pissed off that his team have not won in the last minute and given away a penalty, which he didn't feel was a pen. But I think he's ultimately just got a bit emotional.
I think he could also be a little clever with it though as well. Like, it's now out there, right? Everyone's talking about it, so it kind of brings it a little more attention. You know what I mean? Like, I do think there's maybe a little bit of a clever side to it from him.
What do you kind of just staying on this topic? I'll just do like a straight yes or no answer for everyone. But Scotty, I'll start with you. What do you think about 5 subs? Yes or no? Do you think?
Yes.
Greg?
Yeah, I think there should be 5 subs this year.
Matthew?
No.
So I'm gonna say no, and then because this is what I think. I think if it gets given yes, and I know pretty much every other league has done it apart from the Prem, but I think if it gets given yes, it doesn't go away. I think once you get 5 in, I don't think it goes away again. I think as soon as it's a yes in the Prem, then that's it. And personally, I think having 3 subs is a challenge for a manager. It's a challenge for a team. It's the way things have always been. Nowadays, I'm a Liverpool fan. Liverpool have a big squad with a lot of money, and I get the injuries have been a bit shit this season, but that's also what makes football so exciting. Is like that shit can happen. You get lucky, you don't get lucky. I just think no, because I think once it's in, that's it in. I don't see it going, because there's no way all the managers are then going to turn around and be like, yeah, we'll go back to 3, because you're going to get all the advantages of having 5.
I think just for this year only, 5 makes sense for player welfare and for the. But then I get why people like Wilder and that are so upset. 5 subs does not help them at all, because they've not got 5 strong enough players to come off the bench. So it does hurt them massively.
See what I don't get though is, correct me if I'm wrong, how many times in a Premier League game do you actually see managers using all 3 subs?
Before the 90th minute, yeah.
Yeah, never, really.
So like now there's 5 subs. There's no chance that, let's take Liverpool, City, Chelsea, whoever it is. There's no chance, by the way, in a game you're going to make 5 subs. Because that totally, at that high level, I don't think you make that many subs. Because to jump in at a level like that and make 5 subs and bring your left back off, or you shouldn't even change your back four. Managers, high experienced managers know that. Like you're not going to bring on another centre back. Like you can't do that in a really high level of a Premier League game. So I don't even think the 5s, if it does come in, I don't even think like teams will use it that much, because the schedule's still pretty similar, is it not?
It's a great point, Matthew. The more injuries you get, the less players of quality you have to bring off the bench. So they're even less likely to bring on a sub.
Mate,
they'll have their best team on the pitch.
Managers make I mean, I don't know what the average would be, 1 or 2, you know what I mean, in Premier League games. Like, I think it's quite rare if you were to see 3. You maybe only see 3 if someone's like 3 or 4-0 up and they're cruising. But a lot of games in the Premier League are tight, and it's like 5 subs, like, mate, that's really gonna, like, I think managers know, like, I can't chuck in like 3-4 people and try have them settle into a high level Premier League game, and it's a big game as well. Like,
on the flip side though, Matthew, if you're Man City against Burnley and you're 3-0 up, 4-0 up like they were last week early doors, then Pep can then rest other people. So
what does that mean?
Because the game's over.
Well, what does that have to do with it?
Well, so they can then rest players for Champions League.
Well, that's like one small and specific example to that there, like which is fairly rare.
True. I mean, I would also flip it and vice versa for Burnley. I mean, you're 4-0, 3-4-0 down. You may as well take off some guys you don't want to get hurt if you got 5 subs for a bigger game you have in a week or 2.
Oh, that would make the game even worse.
No, I don't agree with it.
Cannon, do you think that would mean that when Liverpool went 6-2 down against Villa, he would have took off Van Dijk and Salah?
I don't know about Van Dijk, mate. Maybe Salah, but...
Gosh, by the way, when Sean Dice is 5-0 down at Man City, there's no chance he's bringing on, like...
No, he's making that team stay on.
The bench players and that, mate.
No, I'm just, mate...
I go back on what I said. 3 subs.
Yeah, to be fair, Matthew.
I've convinced him.
Yeah, Matthew's convinced him.
Yeah, something else, man.
Matthew's convinced him. Look, for anyone that listens to this too, obviously it's a lot of people we know relatively well. But if you have any thoughts on anything we say or anything you think we should talk about, you can message the Instagram page or message each one of us individually, and we can chat about it each week. But to finish off, is there any other talking points anyone wants to chat about from the weekend that maybe we haven't covered that popped up that you thought we should maybe have a quick chat about? I've noted a few things down here, nothing major. I mean, Wayne Rooney looks like he's gonna finish playing and take over as Derby manager. Don't know what everyone thinks about that.
He's got some tasks on his hands there, eh?
Yeah, he does. That's an interesting one. I don't know how that'll play out.
We were talking about this at the weekend. I'd hate to be the 4th official at one of Wayne Rooney's games while he's on the touchline.
Oh yeah, I bet he's off his head, man.
Yeah.
Can you imagine him sorry, real quick, can you imagine him in being a manager and kind of having that aura about him, you know what I mean? Can you see him being a good manager? And I mean, I know that's very judgmental, but
I don't see it personally early, but I mean, he's literally not properly managed. But I don't see it. But
Yeah,
I
no.
don't know.
Just like you're without not as much not trying to judge straight away, but just kind of like your first impressions, your first kind of natural impressions of him being a manager.
He'll be the next fucking United manager once they sack Ole.
Oh jeez, they need the opposite.
What else? Arsenal getting beat by Wolves. I mean, we
Get it right, Rhythm.
We didn't dive too much into Arteta last week. We said some positive things, but yeah, he's got a long way to go there. I still think he could be okay, but they've got a long way to go.
Just when I see Willock in their team and players like that, I'm just kind of they still do have a while to go. They literally, you know what they remind me of? They literally remind me of when Liverpool had Jay Spearing and Lucas playing in midfield.
Yeah, massive.
That's what stage Arsenal are at.
There's only so good you can get with those players.
Yeah, and Greg, you said it last week. They don't really spend money either.
No, so it's hard to get rid of the shite.
It's hard to get. And I bet a few of those boys are on not bad wages. I'm not saying they're on top wages, but I bet a few of them are on not bad wages. You know what I mean? So
can we also mention Aubameyang massively underperforming, which has gone under everyone's radar?
Yeah, no one's talked about that.
Defensive for him, aren't they?
Do you know?
Got a touch, man.
Matthew, do you think? But I think another way about this too, though. Well, I mean, they conceded 2 goals in the last game, so this is maybe going to sound like a shocking statement, but do you not think he's trying to get them and has got them better off the ball defensively? That naturally that's going to blunt your attack because you're maybe focusing on that a little bit more. So it's probably not helping Aubameyang, but I do agree he's not doing a lot. But I think there's a little bit of that is involved in it. I think they're trying to get them tighter off the ball, be a bit better defensively, which is not going to help. Your front.
Turned your biggest strength into weakness. Aubameyang was one of the best attackers in the league, and all of a sudden he's gone to non-existent.
Yeah,
I think you've gone too much the other way. Sometimes you need to make your strengths and just play to them. But they needed to stop conceding.
So Arteta's job to do both them, by the way. So Arteta's job for him to defend well, and it's his job to get Aubameyang scoring goals. And if not, it's not good enough. That's how hard managing a club like that.
If you can't score goals with Aubameyang and Lacazette and stuff, then you got no chance.
Nah. Everton lost again. I mean, they're without.
Leeds.
We keep saying this. I mean, they're literally James, Calvert-Lewin, and Digne are a class. We 3 together. It works, but if they get anyone injured, they're struggling. I think they're going to struggle just without Digne. I just don't think they're deep enough. Everton. Not struggle, but they're not going to. I don't think do as well as everyone thought they were going to.
Do you not think the drastic change to now a 3-5-2 wherever they play was so drastic from Carlo Ancelotti? I think he needed to give it more time. And by the way, when I seen the team sheet of Tom Davies and Alex Iwobi as the right and left wing backs, I was like, oh my days.
Yes, yeah, it's not great, that is it? That's what I mean.
That's bad.
Surely if you're Leeds, you're just playing on Alex Iwobi at left back.
Mate,
that's what they done. That Rafinha tore him a new one, man.
Yeah, I think they've got great manager, have bought well, have recruited well, and Alan and Decore and James, but just really, really thin. One knock to that starting 11 and it just knocks them way out of whack. So I think they'll struggle, but I think the last thing I've kind of got written down here that I think I want to mention is just how shite are Sheffield United.
They're gone.
So struggling with fans.
Fucking hell, they are. They have just. I mean, they obviously, clearly, and even at the time, it was class. It was a great story, but massively overachieved. Got momentum behind them. Did a great job. Full credit to Chris Wilder on that. But fuck me, since COVID, they have been horrendous.
You'll never win nothing with Ollie McBurney.
Nah, I think you're struggling with Burnley top. They have been bad.
Maybe Chrissy Wilder should ask for 5 subs, and everyone else just gets 3.
Aye, Chrissy, mate, get yourself onto Jurgen and see if he fancy changing your mind about 5 subs. But they've been piss shy. Well, I mean, I think that's it, lads. I don't think there's much more to discuss. The Reds are kicking off in 5 minutes anyway, so it's probably good timing. But another good wee chat. Well done. We'll look to do maybe another one this week. We'll just play it by ear and what happens. But if not, absolutely, we'll get another one in next week. I quite like doing a wee weekend review on a Tuesday once you've had the games and Monday night football and all that. So maybe we'll try and make it a wee weekly thing on a Tuesday to do this.
When are we getting the Super Fry weekend review?
We definitely need I think we do the Super Fry weekend review on the next one.
10% off Sunday to Thursday. We only go on Fridays and Saturdays. What's that all about?
I've seen that.
No.
So
Come on,
okay.
Mauro. Come on, Super Fry. Help us out here.
Nobody has a Super Fry Sunday and Thursday. Come on.
Super Fry and Tenants. We shouted you out in the first episode. We still wanted you as a sponsor so we can drink free Tenants on a Saturday watching the football. That'll be great. Cheers, boys. That was another good one.
Cheers, lads.
Cheers,
Well
lads.
done.
Speak to you in a bit.
Cheers.
Pleasure.
See ya.